What's up, everyone? Happy Reality Hack 2025. Thank you all for showing up. So we're here for using your cosmic voice of activation, social responsible storytelling, and XR for interdimensional rebirth. So there's a lot of topics that are going to go around, but we'll just kind of start with introductions. First, my name's Akilah Martinez, aka Glittering World Girl. Yat e anotwa she Akilah Martinez yeneshet, sina janina shlint, wadich ini bashes chin tkachini dasha che chisha hatsawa dashanale, bahanle ke winit ingi the nebakea dantnasha. I'm from the Navajo Nation on in the New Mexico side. So yeah, also I'm a creative technologist, XR developer, and I started my own company called Glittering World Girl, where I really focus on creating circular economic ecosystems that involve XR technology, indigenous language, and culture revitalization. And I'll pass it on to Krystal. Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Krystal Curley. I don't know if I'm talking loud enough. But I also am from the Navajo Nation. I'm Dene, and my clans are Kinyaani, Nishlankitlichini Bashashi, Nakaiden Dashache, Arohanagahni Dashanale. So in essence, I like to say I'm the Mexican who walks around a red towering house, and that's all my clans. I'm a towering house clan, red house clan, the Mexican people clan, and the one who walks around. So if you see me walking around, you know I'm practicing my my clans. But yeah, I have 3 daughters. I work for an organization. I run the organization called Indigenous Lifeways. This is our 2nd year being here at MIT, I think in maybe this exact room or building. But me and Akilah were here last year. We're so privileged and honored to have this conversation with you. For us at Indigenous Lifeways, we are rooted in Indigenous matriarchy values. We work a lot around environmental racism. We're water protectors, land protectors, and yeah, any way that, we're here hacking reality, but for us at Indigenous Lifeways, we hack the system. So, that's what we're wanting to do, and I think it's such a perfect time that we're having this conversation. So thank you. I'll pass it over to Paige.
Thank you, Akilah, and thank you, Krystal. It's an honor to be together with both of you. Thank you for inviting me to be on your panel together. My name is Paige Dansinger. I am the founding director of Better World Museum, Horizon Art Museum, and Women in Horizon. I'm really just part of you, this community that gathers here each year.
The next one's the land acknowledgement. Because I'm a visitor here, at the eastern doorway where the sun first meets the so-called United States. But we're in a very sacred spot. This is the first contact with the eastern world. And so as visitors to the ancestral homelands, I'm gonna probably not say this right, but the Pawtucket, the Massachusetts, Nipmuc, and the Wampanoag tribal nations, we like to acknowledge all the past, present, and future generations to continue to be the original caretakers of so-called Boston. We like to call in the elements of the land, the water, the fire, the air, and we also would like to honor the microorganisms, the insects, the animals, our plant relatives, and also all of our relatives around the world, and all the impacted communities. And so I also have here is for us at Indigenous Lifeways, we practice Indigenous mindfulness, and one of them is creating sacred spaces. So with that, we are creating a sacred space here with all of us. What we like when we exit this room is that we all have one mind, one voice, one vision of a healthier, better future for our future generations, to have livable water, to have clean water, to have clean air, clean land, and to have healthy future generations. And so with that, I have an eagle feather, I have a crystal here. We have some sage from South Dakota. And for Dene people, we use cornmeal. So we have some white cornmeal here. And so stories for us are very sacred. There's certain times that you can and cannot tell certain stories. And so with being storytellers all in this room, you're also creating that sacred space as you're creating in the next few days.
That's great. Thank you so much, Krystal. So next we just kind of have a grounding and visioning session. We're at the reality hack right now, and it's a lot of just go, go, go. So if whoever wants to join, you're welcome to, but we'll just spend a few minutes doing a grounding and visioning session. If we could just close our eyes to activate our imagination to the fullest. And let's just start with some deep breaths. Breathe in, and then breathe out, and then breathe in, and breathe out. One more time, a big one. Let's let go of any tension. And then breathe out. Great. And then let's just kind of activate our imagination here for a moment. When we have XR technology in mind, and we envision the ultimate reality of what we want to create in the world, either for yourself, for your family, your community, or all together, let's go ahead and venture into that, and to imagine, to just allow ourselves to begin to imagine what that could look like in our own individualized way. So we can imagine this as maybe we're somewhere right now, like at a mountain, and as you're hiking to the top, the peak of a mountain right now, and then you look back down, maybe there's a city down there, but they're using XR technology in effective ways, in sustainable ways that create sustainability for the earth, for all the different elements that we have, and the different resources that we have, and the way that we communicate, and the way that we find joy and entertainment that empowers us, that empowers our communities, that empowers the whole earth as a whole. It's just one whole network that we have changed from a wavelength to a matter. So this is our intention of how we want to create something good into the world using XR technology. And then let's also go and change now. We'll go into, maybe you can envision now that maybe you're in a coffee house. You're in a coffee house, there's all kinds of noise going on, it smells like coffee. And you're sitting there because you're about to meet someone who is of high importance that's going to come through the door. And they just came through the door, and they're going to come to meet you and shake your hand to congratulate you that you've accomplished everything that you have set out to do. That is what's going to happen. That is what's happening right now. And let's take a deep breath in, and then we'll take a deep breath out. Thank you. So great. Yeah, so I think that it's important to find these little moments that we could take a breath, especially with the hackathon. We have a 5-day hack coming up, and it can seem very chaotic. So definitely get rest. Yeah. So we'll pass it on to Krystal.
Yeah, settle in. Come on, folks. There's some room up here. There's snacks. Please make yourself comfortable. We have 45 minutes. But like I said, we work a lot with our values as Indigenous matriarchs. With that, we practice our ancestral knowledge, passing it down to the future generations. So I feel like when you're in that content creating space, you're in that womb space, the interdimensional time space. As people who have wombs, when also you were in a womb, you were in that interdimensional space, you were in that portal of your ancestors and the future generations. And as women, you were also, if you're in your mother, you are also part of your grandmother as well when your mother was being born. And so when you're content creating, I like to think of that space, and the space that we're in right now as you're gaining some knowledge from us, is that we're in that womb space, that interdimensional portal. We're going to be reaching in from our past ancestors, from all of our traditions around the world. I see so many people here from all over the world, and if we go to our ancestors, our grandmothers' stories as matriarchs. That's where we value that knowledge, that decision making. And so, and then we were in that middle space, or that vessel between the past generations and the future generations. Right now in our hands are these new technologies that we have. And so we're also in that portal of this new technology. What can we see in the future? What have we learned from the past? And so, all of us have those ancestral knowledge. So tapping into that can unveil so much lessons and teachings from how to be interconnected, not only to each other and the land, but most importantly to yourself. And that's why we're going to be activating that cosmic voice. And for Indigenous people and Indigenous people all over the world, well, I kind of already went through that, but this is my intro again. But my matriarchs are my grandmother. She's the oldest of 12. She was born in 1920. If she was still alive, she'd be 104 or 105 this year. So that's my lineage, and where I get a lot of my teachings and my grounding. So if you have a teacher in your life, whether it be a family member or maybe one of your deities or your holy people that you have in your creation stories, can also be a teacher for you. And both of my parents are in the American Indian movement. Today's presentation, I'm dedicating it to one of our past leaders. Her name's Anime Akawash. She was brutally murdered in 1973, I believe. But when she activated her cosmic voice was here in so-called Boston at the Boston Indian Council here in Boston. And that activated her to be in the movement. Unfortunately, she passed. It's short, but for our communities right now, it's a big talk about Anime Akawash and our leaders like Leonard Peltier that was freed this week. And so, I'm getting chills. I'm calling in those ancestors. So she's also a teaching as well. So I'm pretty sure you have those teachers in your life that motivated you and brought that knowledge forward. But again, this is some of our community members. Having some technical problems with that part, but that's where we ground ourselves. And a lot of our teachings and where our wisdom comes from our grandmothers. And for me as Indigenous Lifeways, as being the executive director for 9 years now, I see Indigenous Lifeways as a grandmother, as my teacher. She teaches me so much every day. And so that's my relationship. So you can also have that relationship with your computer, with all these devices here, with your organization or your business. You have that relationship. What is it teaching you, and how are you learning from it? There's that symbiotic relationship that we have with all things. And so activating your cosmic voice is really going deep within yourself. Like I said, practicing Indigenous mindfulness. There's so many different ways. Centering prayer and ceremony, getting into that mindset of where your thoughts are just running through you and you release them and let them go. Once you get to that point of manifestation, you let all that baggage go, and now you're thinking of the future. That's when you find your cosmic voice. And for us Indigenous people, for Diné people, I can only speak for Diné people, is that we activate that through ceremony, through prayer. And there's certain times that we pray, there's certain ceremonies that we do to help us activate that voice. So if you look within your own lineage, there's probably ceremonies and different stories that you can activate that cosmic voice. And remembering that you are not this mind that thinks, that has these crazy thoughts sometimes, and you are not this body. Who you are is a deeper level of being an interdimensional being. Like I said, we're that portal through this 3D world that we're in right now to the 4D and all these interdimensional time and space. I'm really into quantum physics, so right now everything's happening all at once, all time and space, everything's happening all at once. Once we higher that vibration through meditation and prayer and ceremony, our vibration heightens, our brain frequency heightens, because now we're being more empathetic with each other. Now I see myself in your shoes, and I can see your struggles, and I can see how it would be living in your life. So once we create that empathy, not only to ourselves, having empathy to our own struggles and our own traumas in our life, and also realizing what's happened in the past. So I think, activating all of, practicing as much as you can on yourself, being gentle with yourself, you begin to be gentle with other things and situations around you. And the foundation for us is love, is Hajan, is one of our teachings, is balance. And so through it all, through all of this, through all of our creation stories, is balance. How are we creating balance within our society, within ourselves? So there's all of that. You don't want to be too negative in this world. You don't want to be too positive. You got to keep it real. You got to keep it grounded, because what we're up against in this world every day, despite, anything, we're always struggling. But how do we use that struggle as teachings for the next generation? Because it's always going to be here, any type of struggle. And that's something that I've learned through our medicine people, is that the evil is always going to be there. Good is always going to be there. You can't have good without evil. So you can't have positive without negative. You can't have negative without positive. So there's always going to have to be that balance. And through it is where you find Hajan, you find balance through your own story, through your own situations. And so this is really remembering that you are a limitless being, you are a timeless being, and knowing that no matter what happens in this life, that there's always going to be a solution. And then that abundance mindset is essential in this activation of your cosmic voice. So there's some of this, doing ceremony, XR. There's so many studies out there that it creates that space of empathy, because how do we become empathetic as individuals with XR is through experience. And so XR creates those immersive experiences for us. And so I kind of went over this a little bit, but, going back to our own knowledge of land caretakers, there's so many responsibilities that we have as people in different regions. There's so many different creation stories and purpose that we find in, people say legends or mythologies or whatever, but they're real teachings. And they provide a lot of lessons within them. And so now, you're going back, if you want to, going back on your ancestral values, you start looking at who your ancestors are, because each of us here around the world, we all come from indigenous people. It's just colonization impacted that. Colonization took that away from us. So if we activate that natural connection to the natural world, we have those indigenous mindsets, learning that we're connected to the plants, the animals, the elements, and to each other, because all of that is all within us. We are the land. There's a practice here. You start feeling the air in your mouth, the water, and the air is within you. So there's all of this power that lands your body. You already are all of those elements. The elements that create the universe are also the same elements that are within us: the carbon, the hydrogen, the nitrogen, the oxygen. All of that's all out in the universe is all within us. It's essential. So we have that interconnectedness already to the universe because we are within it. And so as you're going through that and you want to start getting into your traditions and cultures, you want to start talking to your elders, it's very crucial that you follow protocols with how to unveil these stories, because there's a fine line on how to present sacred knowledge. So we follow the FPIC. It's a UN policy. It's free, prior, informed consent. That's something that we use. Free information. We're informed before. We have prior consent, or we have the information prior, and then we give your consent. We give our consent. And then always consulting with indigenous people, our indigenous medicine people. And so I think I kind of talked about this too, about that interweaving and expanding your perspective, knowing that you're not just this meat suit here, but you're a cosmic being that has inner light. And So really igniting that Indigenous worldview could bring you closer to activating that cosmic voice. And so steps in activation, always engage in storytelling, no matter what it looks like. I think, seeing the negatives, seeing the evil triggers or whatever, but also seeing really good content as well, and finding that balance in between both. And then leveraging these XR tools to enhance that connection. But through these actions, it becomes a self-liberation aligned with your interdimensional and ecological truths. So that's what happens when you are activating your cosmic voice as a cosmic being. And some call to actions here is, explore your own Indigenous roots. How do those stories look like for you? How can you uplift that through XR? And being socially responsible, making sure you have ethics and you're not just going out just taking people's stories, that you're actually going in and you're having that reciprocity relationship with your clients or your community. And thank you. I hope. Sorry, I have to talk really fast, but I'm all looking at the clock. Thank you.
Awesome. How cool. Great. So yeah, just a quick intro for those who have come in since we started. My name is Akilah Martinez. I have a business called Glittering World Girl, and last year recently became a partner with Virtual World Society, and the goal and vision is to use XR technology to uplift humanity. And in narrative of that, XR is a medium for social change, positive social change, and also using XR technology as a tool to uplift humanity. So a lot of the founders of XR technology and the people who first invented XR technology, and a lot of the people in the industry right now, they really are pushing for social change, uplifting humanity basically through XR technology. Even within the reality hack, there is an emphasis on the UN sustainable goals for that. So just kind of keeping in mind that this is really different from traditional forms of media like books and television. So just right now off the top, how is XR technology different from traditional forms of media? Can anyone give an example? Yep, interactive. Yeah, immersive. Exactly, yeah, more emotional. Yeah, and from business model structure, it's actually really different than traditional forms of media as well. So with traditional forms of media like books and also television, TV, those narratives were kind of dictated by one biased narrative, where the output of those medias were basically just in the power of one group of people. Also, the business structure that those kind of medias were formed off of was something kind of more like a pyramid type of structure, where only the top of the people on the pyramid get the most benefit from the production of the whole media form. This is actually not the case with XR technology. There's actually a lot of trending use cases of a circular economy where everyone in a community could benefit from developing XR technology. So what that means is that, as Krystal was saying, is that we involve everyone in the community, and the goal of the circular economy within XR is to uplift humanity and the community all at once. So every part will have mutually benefiting activities happening all the time. And that goes from whatever the intention is there, the perspective and intention matters the most. So that could be like you're having great ecological impact, you're having great cultural linguistic impact, you're having representation, you're uplifting your community through that. So that's one different, one way that XR technology is different. So also this is another way is a little bit I talked about earlier, is that XR technology enables underrepresented communities to have ownership of their storytelling. We don't have to have one side biased narrative within XR technology. I like to think we're a little bit past the emerging side of XR technology, but as even from there, we're actually at a pretty good statistically, globally, culturally represented, presence in XR technology. So that is one way that XR technology is also different than traditional forms of media. So just a few examples of that. So for Native Americans, like a lot of the times, the media that was told about us derived from stereotypical biased history books. Also, the dying Indian and Western films. That's kind of like the stereotype that Native Americans are getting out of right now. And XR technology can help us do that. So with this, this is just to kind of show how our language can be included into pop culture by using conversation hearts and putting it on social media for, this was just in the form of, AR filters and stuff like that. But it did pretty good on TikTok with over 70,000 use cases on it. And then also DigiNewMex is another project that I created where I included 7 indigenous languages found in New Mexico. So this benefited the language speakers. I also hired sound engineers to create the audio. We designed spatial audio in this experience as well. And then also, so XR circular economy creation. So with that, intention and perspective matter, as I was saying. What you're intending, we're talking a lot about activating your cosmic voice within. What are you telling yourself on what's possible with XR technology actually really matters? Because in this process, like every day we're doing that. And like, even like the greatest, who's a fan here of Nikola Tesla? I love Nikola Tesla. Like he was like an OG at that information. The notion of putting wave to matter, So what you really want to create with XR technology is possible. And so when you're focusing on creating a circular economy, you will be able to do that. So let's see here. So all of this kind of, oh, that looks kind of weird. So all of this kind of like bridges us to the notion of like, how do we wire our brain and mind for success? And this is how we can practice accomplishment through the cosmic voice within, returning to our divine, infinite, limitless selves and who we came into this world as representations of abundance and happiness and confidence and joy. That's so when we constantly think like that and rewire our neural pathways, we're actually going to activate the reticular activating system within our brain to bring those type of experiences into your reality more often. So that building new neural pathways and being aware of our thoughts in our consciousness, in particular and pertaining to XR technology, that is where we will really be able to bring these experiences into our lives. I feel like that that's kind of like the success story of Glittering World Girl, is the ability to create a circular economy where every part of an economy, an economic system, an ecological system is considered, and then you start to see how that is they're all benefiting, and it all goes back to the train of thought. So let's see here. So within that train of thought, we see that the unseen actually really has power, which is now being proven in neuroscience and quantum mechanics. And where you're moving your intention from wave to matter can help you create an circular economic system based off of your passions in life. And through that, is just like you're activating that cosmic voice within. You're remembering that you came into this world as an abundant being, and that you came into this world as a unique individualization of abundance. So there we go. And then so just to kind of shed light on some of the opportunities out there, is anyone familiar with the Niantic Studio Developer Fund? Yeah, so they're going to be launching another one in 2025. That would be a great resource to kind of get funding for your projects as well. And then I was in the previous one that just ended earlier this year, and there I created Dene Yego, which means like Navajo keep going kind of thing. And it was a language learning experience. And then also Spectacles Student Accelerator Fund. Yeah, like you can access that there. They have another cohort coming up. You could get your project using Spectacles funded. And then also Spectacles Lens Fund for larger scale projects. There's another QR code for that one as well. So, and then I'll pass it on to Paige.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Hi, I'm Paige, and I'm thrilled to have this opportunity to share some thoughts about using your voice for ultimate good, or activating your imagination for solutions. So beyond intention, activation into solution. I am the founder of Better World Museum. Better World Museum was a brick and mortar museum for over 5 years downtown Minneapolis. We had an 8,000 square foot space in which we used IoT to create an indoor edible garden. We had one VR headset at that time. And inside of that VR headset, over 10,000 people drew inside of a VR garden. This ignited a way to look at how we can grow better together. And I don't know your computer. I want to touch it respectfully, which is your...
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, thank you. And that's your...
Yeah, I could do it.
Okay. Not necessary, but I appreciate you. Thank you. And right now, her Better World Museum is on 3 different platforms. In Horizon World, it's a white wall template museum where artists in residence are invited to upload the museum template into their own world. Now they own it, and they have one charge from me is to dismantle that museum and make a better world. It's also in Roblox as a community garden, and Rec Room as a museum created by 13 to 15-year-olds. And it's a space where we develop teen leadership roles. But I have a different dream, and I dream a lot. I have a really special connection with my dreams. And if it were up to me, and I ask you to imagine, what would every day feel like if it was a hackathon? We're here today for the next 5 days to build solutions with people that you may just be meeting for the first time now. If you look at your neighborhood, your block, and who's on that block living across the street, you may not know them. And they may even consider you an other, right? How are you going to work together to break that otherness and create solutions in times of calamities with your neighbors? Right now, we have this opportunity to form our own neighborhoodship, but when a bridge collapses, or the banks of a river overswell, or we see fires taking over neighborhoods, or forced migration because of war, or different structural inequities. How are you going to work with your neighbors? And I think a lot about that, because as I see you, today you're my neighbor, and we can work in harmony together. But imagine in 2 weeks waking up, you're no longer at MIT. How are you going to bring the skills that you will build here, rebuilding bridges, reforesting spaces, regardening together into your block, your neighborhood, your community? It doesn't have to be hard, right? There's always that look for the helpers, but how does it feel to be that helper? And how wonderful does it feel to break that structural inequity, right? So that's something that I love to focus on. We do that. I've been a member of MIT Hackathon since 2020. I've come each year, although one year